So most of what I was just playing there, that was just a little improvisation in D minor. Except at the end when I opened it up and played a bigger chord. Most of that was just two notes at a time. And hopefully it sounded full enough. If I'm doing my job as a player and you're doing your job as a listener, I can suggest harmony with just two notes, and your mind might fill in the rest. It might sound fuller than it is. And that's what this tip is about. It's tip number 2, and it's about the power of 2, or sometimes we'll say DYADS on the guitar. When we play 2 notes, that's considered a dyad. Sometimes we'll say double stop, which is a particular technique. And I'll come back to that in a minute. But double stop is sometimes used just to mean 2 notes, regardless of the technique that we use to play the 2 notes. There's so much that you can do with just that. There's this kind of old trope about the guitar that, are you playing lead guitar or are you playing rhythm guitar? And when you're playing 2 notes at a time, it's kind of this other thing. It's not just purely melody, and it's not chords exactly either. But the guitar can really sound complete in that way. So I want to talk about an approach to the guitar that's just about playing 2 notes at a time. I think if you work on this for a little bit, you'll find a really nice thing is if you happen to play in a trio, as I often do, with a bass player and a drummer, but no other chordal instrument. Being able to improvise and play that way where you've got 2 notes at a time sounds plenty big. We don't have to get into full chords. We can just play 2 notes and let that be the sound. And again, let the listener maybe hear more than is actually there. Sounds like magic, but it's a very real thing that you can do. So how would we do this? How would we develop a vocabulary on the guitar that's 2 notes at a time? Well, one thing that I like to do is to take a scale on the guitar. Let's play the D major scale. We're going to play this on the B string, the 2nd string. And that's it, just on that 1 string. And I'll come back down. And now we're going to add a 2nd note that's lower, so that this really comes across as the melody. And I'll choose a note that's a 3rd lower. And what that means is, like in this scale, we go down 3 notes, counting the starting note as 1. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So the note a 3rd below is B. And now we're just going to move through the scale. You'll notice that the shapes change. It's not just one shape. So why is it this shape and then this shape? Why isn't it just the same shape all the way across? Well, it's because a major scale has some whole steps and some half steps. And since we started on 2 different notes, they're going to be out of sync. So starting from D, we're going to go whole step, half step, whole step, whole step, whole step, half step. But with the lower note is B, that sequence is already in progress. So we just need to go whole step, half step, and then we're on D. And now we keep going whole, half, whole. So they are moving in parallel, but they're not synchronized. So that's why the shapes change. So that's the sound of a 3rd. That's a really pretty sound. Another sound that's nice is a 6th. Again, we start here, we'll call this 1 and we'll count down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's another nice shape we can play, which is tenths. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And once you can do it, try to improvise something. Yeah, I think I've said this before, but it bears repeating. As soon as you can do something by the book, go off the book and try to invent something or improvise something. Make music. As soon as you can make music, do make music. So those are kind of the sweet sounds that we can make in dyads. Oh, I mentioned I was going to show you how to play a double stop. It's a really specific thing. So let's say I wanted the notes A and D together. This I would call a half bar. So it's like making a bar, like for a bar chord, but I'm not doing the whole thing. I'm doing really 2/3 of a bar. I'm getting 4 strings, and I want to focus in on playing these 2 in the middle. There's a double stop is a slightly different technique where instead of flattening the finger this way, where you can really see my fingernail and I'm just coming in real flat like this, I angle my knuckle out a little bit and I come in a little bit sideways, almost like I'm trying to not touch the 2 strings, but touch the fretboard, the wood in between the strings. And when you do that, you do wind up getting, on a good day anyway, getting both of those strings by trying not to touch either one, but trying to just touch the fretboard. So that's really a double stop. As opposed to a half bar. And those are both useful techniques. I would use a double stop to just free up my hand a little bit more. Once you're here, you can't really go behind it, but here I could get behind that. So that's one reason to do it. It really just depends on where you're coming from, what's happening before and after that moment. So you might want to set yourself up based on what's the next chord that you want to get to, or the next melody note that you want to get to. So anyway, that's a double stop. I said I would show it to you. So thirds, sixths, tenths, there's other kinds of sounds. There's fourths that we could work on. There's fifths. There's seconds. All of those could be useful sounds. They just all have a different character. We can also do something like this, but with an open string that doesn't change as we move. So maybe we go like, I'll change keys. So now let's be in the key of G. And I'm going to have this open G and move up the G scale on the B string. So. So that's another way of getting two notes for the price of one. Another way to approach playing the guitar 2 notes at a time is to play a melody and play a root note below it. So let's move now to the key of C. So I'm going to play a melody. Let's say the chords are going C, F, G, C. And let's say I have this little melody. So the melody was I'm just adding root notes. C, F, G, C. I'll do another melody. Da, 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 da. So this low E right now is down to D. So if it looks funny that I'm playing G at the 5th fret, it's because I'm tuned to D. So that's why that is G. So let's see. So that's putting the root below each one. We could try a different chord tone. I could put the third of each chord. So the third of C, the third of F, the third of C, the third of G. Let's see what that sounds like. I thought most of that sounded pretty good. The third phrase didn't sound that great because the third of C was also the melody note. So check this out. So C chord, third in the bottom, F chord, third in the bottom, C chord, third in the bottom, but also the third is the melody. So there I might choose a different note. I might put C, and then that C moves nicely to the third of G. So now my bass line is this. Listen. So in doing this, we have to actually not just follow some set pattern no matter what, but look at and listen to what's actually happening and maybe adjust so that we get the best result. Because we've only got 2 notes, we don't want to waste one by doubling it. Yeah, anytime you're doubling the melody in the bass, it's maybe waste is too strong of a word, but it's certainly, you're not getting the maximum impact that way or the maximum beauty that way. So I'm sure I've left out lots of other ways that you could play the guitar 2 notes at a time, but this is just a good kind of launch pad, I hope, for you to explore and see what you can do 2 notes at a time. It's as melodic as playing 1 note at a time and almost as harmonic as trying to play chords. It's really all the information that anybody needs to hear, especially if you're in a group where you've got a bass player. So spend some time on this, see what you can find, do it for a while. Probably you'll get distracted by some other area of focus on the guitar. And then when you can, come back to it, and you might surprise yourself, maybe looking at this closely for a while, then going away, and then coming back to it. You might find that there's something there that you missed in the first time that you were working on it. And to keep doing this, I've been playing this way for decades, and I'm still finding new stuff that I hadn't noticed before. I think it's a beautiful way to play the guitar. Hey, thanks for tuning in to this week's tip. It's part of a series. I don't know if you knew that, but I'm doing this New Year's series called 10 Tips for Intentional Practice. It's kind of like a New Year's resolution series specifically for guitar players. I've come up with 10 things that I think are important for just about any kind of player, whatever your level, whatever your interest is. I think you'll find something here that will help you set a good intention for growth on the guitar in this year. If you haven't already subscribed to Guitar Tips, that's this channel, Right now would be a perfect time to subscribe. And if you liked this video, then please give it a thumbs up, like, and make sure to tune in next week for another tip in the series.